Well, the first thing I think you need to understand is that these people that you're comparing yourself to, you don't really know very well. What that means is that you see their shiny outside, but you don't see the reality of their life. You know, you can't tell, and people have hard lives, and even people who are comparatively fortunate have hard lives. And so the ideal that you're observing that makes you jealous and resentful is in large part an illusion that's created by your own mind. You have to be careful of what you're jealous of because you don't really know what it is. You're quite different from other people, and you shouldn't be comparing yourself to them because they're not like you. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday and not to who someone else is today. And see, that's a game you can win because you could be a little better today than you were yesterday. And that's a good thing.
Welcome to the In Our Humble Opinion podcast, the show where no topic is off limits. Sit back, relax, and enjoy a wide variety of interesting topics: sports, gaming, the paranormal, and everything in between. All opinions given are respectfully and humbly our own. Now here's your hosts, Jacob Cook and Brantley Weatherford.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of In Our Humble Opinion. I hope y'all didn't jump out of your seats with that introduction, but my name is Brantley Weatherford, and of course, as always, I am joined with the wonderful Jake the Great. Jacob, how are you doing?
I would not say Jake the Great, but I appreciate the kind words. I was not looking at our countdown, and all of a sudden I just hear you screaming hello. It is good to be back. Thank you so much, Brent. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Now, before I continue, you know where I got that from. I think you do.
Refresh my memory.
It's the episode of Bob Tilton where he's going, hello.
Oh, yes, of course. How could I have forgotten about Robert
And then
Tilton?
gas ensues. Anyway, guys, welcome back to another week of, what episode number are we on? I cannot remember.
I think 15.
15. I'll go with 15, if not 16. Somewhere between 14 and 16. And we are just running strong. Guys, we just want to shout out to everybody that listened to our episode last week and enjoyed it and liked it and downloaded it and subscribed. That was huge for us, and we appreciate it. Now, Jacob, it's going to be hard to follow that up because that was a banger. It was a good episode, but I think we have something today. What would that something be, Jacob?
Yeah, like Brantley said, we before I jump into the topic, I just want to, show my own appreciation and gratitude to everybody who subscribed and who liked the video, and we got a resounding response to that episode on multiple different platforms, and we couldn't be more grateful for that. So if you were a part of that, and if you're a new subscriber, welcome. This is something that Brantley and I have been, this podcast is something that we've been wanting to do for a very long time, and we've been producing episodes now for almost a year. And we're so thankful for the audience that we've accumulated. We can't say thank you enough to all of our active listeners. And if you are new among those, we greatly do appreciate it. But as Brantley said, I think we do have a really great topic today in that of comparisons and comparing yourself to other people. It's a topic that I think a lot of young people, especially those of us who are in high school and going into college, struggle with. And it's something that we would like to touch on and share our own experience with, because it has deprived us of a lot of moments that I wish it hadn't. And if I had heard some of these lessons earlier and really taken them to heart, maybe I could have saved myself some mental heartache throughout my life. So we thought it would be an appropriate topic. We wanted to share our experiences, and hopefully this message can get out to those of you who are young enough to take it to heart in time and learn from our mistakes and be better for it.
Yeah, and I think it's also a good topic for adults as well, because comparison culture it's important, very critical at a young age, because I think that's where it gets really detrimental to the human psyche, would be teenage years, college years, but it also applies to the older audience or the middle-aged audience.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll kick off the conversation with you, Brant, just because where I came up with this idea, or rather wherever the idea struck, is Brantley and I frequent YouTube. We have a lot of subscriptions. We like the platform a lot. And we recently started our own YouTube channels. And I was watching a video from a long time from someone I've been subscribed to for quite some time, and he was talking about how his video production has dwindled over the past few months, and sometimes he'll take breaks, and sometimes he will just take a leave of absence for an extended period of time without much warning. And he apologized to his audience for that. He said it's basically due to the fact that his particular type of content, he looks around the landscape of other creators who do his style of content and compares himself based on numbers and things of that nature, views, and he watches their videos, and in his own words, he said, I see how creative people are and how talented they are at editing, and I just know I'm never going to get to that point, and I just start feeling really bad about myself. And and as someone who has nowhere near the audience this person has, I've experienced that to some degree. I don't know if you have, Brant, but I don't know that I'll put a lot of time into a video and think that, have expectations in my mind of how it's going to do. And I can't help but look around and see people who have produced similar content and think to myself that I'm the one who's the problem. Like it's my fault that I'm not finding success, or, just thinking I'll never be as good as whoever it may be. And all that joy and happiness that I had creating the video, it gets taken away from me because I'm so focused on the outcome of it. And during the process, I'm having fun, but then, if it doesn't generate the viewership that I want, it robs me of what it took to make it. And you could argue that perhaps my heart is in the wrong place and I'm producing content for the wrong reasons in that respect. And you may be right in some respects, but comparing myself to others, and this is something I've been doing way better at since we started producing content on YouTube. I don't care about it anymore. Like at first that was sort of my mindset. I would compare myself, but now coming back to it, I did take a little bit of a break, and coming back to it, I don't care about the result. I just post it because I had fun making it. Whatever else happens. I don't really care. And that has been such an uplifting change for me because it does bring that joy and passion back into creating the content in the first place. I'm not as results oriented after that point. I don't know if your experiences differs, but I'd be curious to hear it.
That is excellent. I have the same thing, Jacob, and I know I have the same thing because I'm clicking other channels, including yours, and thinking, man, what is he doing different that I'm not doing? I look at view count. A lot of people look at subscriber count. I look at view count. And, I'll see a video on YouTube that to me just does not look, it's the same type of video that just looks poorly, like it's just shot from the phone only. There's not much editing, nothing much involved. It's just a simple video, which is fine. That's fine. And it has like 40,000 views. And I'm like, how? How does that happen? But my video over here, and I'm with you. I compare in that sense, but the best, and it does suck the joy away from me unless I click away quickly. And I try to do that. I'm not out there searching for other channels opening or doing the same stuff I'm doing, other than the massive ones, but those are expected. They're massive already. And I try not to look at it, but there have been times where I'll go to a video and it could be uploaded for an hour and it will have 2 views. And I'm thinking, man, it doesn't have more views. My last video got this many views. And for me, if I get at least 20 views a video, I'm super happy. And I don't think your heart's in the wrong place. Yeah, we're doing it for fun, but we also want people to see the fun we're having. We do it. We're doing it for fun, but we also want people to enjoy it. We're producing a product per se for people to enjoy, just like this podcast. We're producing this and putting it out there for people to hear our opinion, whether they like it or not. And it's nice to see results because it's like our work paid off. But the comparison thing can drain you of the joy you find in the thing you're doing. Now, for this podcast, I haven't had any comparisons to anybody else. Why? Because I feel like we've been doing pretty well on here, and I've enjoyed it. regardless, even when we launched our YouTube, I don't look at YouTube numbers for the podcast and think, man, what are we doing wrong? I know we're putting out good stuff every week. Last video definitely proved it. But then, of course, for my own channel, I do at times go and compare. I think a major place of comparison that has really, crept its way into society would be social media. And I know we bring up social media all the time, but I'll just give an example for me. Back in high school and even college, I would spend hours and hours just scrolling Facebook.
Yeah, me too.
I know. I've said this on the channel before. I see kids tell me, my students tell me, "Oh, I spent all Saturday on TikTok," and I'm thinking, "How could you do that?" But I have done it, except on Facebook. And back then, I was never enjoying it. I mean, it was maybe one story, but I was just comparing. I see people, you know, at the beach with, and I'll just be honest, with their girlfriend. I think, man, what am I doing wrong? That they're doing that, and I'm not doing the same stuff, and they get all that, and I'm not doing, I'm not getting it. What's wrong with me? And it just eventually broke me down over and over again to where I was just, depressed about it. I was feeling that depression with stuff I shouldn't have, and it was just unhealthy lifestyle. It sucked joy away. If we look at the first example of, I guess, comparison slash jealousy was Cain and Abel in the Bible. Abel was doing it just for the joy of it to please God, but Cain was over there comparing himself and looking at the reaction. And of course, there's more involved to the story than just that. But it's an example.
Yeah.
So it's a joy drainer. Um, it's not going to help you out. And if you continue, I think if you continuously compare yourself to everybody else around you, you yourself are never going to find any happiness or joy. Take what you have and run with it. I used to compare what I had at my house, not where I live now, when I lived with my parents. Like, and my house isn't fun compared to so and so's house or that person's house. But I'm sure it was fantastic for when people came over. I don't know. I'm just saying. I always thought what I had was less, and that was cool because I would compare. Like, they have this, this, and this, and I only have this and this, and it would take joy away from me. And that's not the point of life,
No, I mean, I agree with you. And we've talked about this before. I know I brought this up before, but as it relates to that social media that you alluded to earlier, that's why I swore away from it in high school. And I've reached, this isn't something that the audience hasn't heard before, but I found that I was not happy after searching through Facebook. I found that I was actually depressed a lot of times, and I wasn't content because my life was so chaotic at the time, and everybody seemed to have stability, and not only stability, but prosperity. And here I was, sitting with all my problems. And it was not a good place to be, because what ends up happening is not only was I finding myself depressed whenever I shouldn't have been, but I even grew resentful to people that I barely knew. And that's not a good thing to do at all. Like, yeah, sure, it might be an easy thing to understand in terms of, whenever you're going through a hard time and you see somebody who's living this prosperous life, and it doesn't seem like a bad thing ever happens to them. But it's also dangerous. Like, resentment and anger are just two of, like, bitterness and resentfulness are just two of the most deep penetrating emotions that you can have. And if you let it consume you, it absolutely will. And you have to do everything in your power to refrain from that. And the best way to do that, the best way to combat that resentfulness and that bitterness, is gratitude. If you stop for a moment and think about all the things that you do have, even whenever you feel like you may not, because oftentimes we overlook the things that we've been given for the things that we haven't been given. And it becomes this perpetual cycle of, if you always think things are never going to happen for you, if you always have this pessimistic mindset, you're just going to be a miserable person. And miserable people hurt other people, and it just becomes this cascading domino effect. You have to take some responsibility for your emotions, and you have to find some gratitude even where you may not think there's anything to be grateful for. There's always something to be grateful for. And it took me a long time to realize that. I was probably well into college before I stopped to really think about this and to ponder what I haven't been grateful for. And I'll give another example here in just a moment, but oftentimes there is a plan for things. So we might not get something that we want immediately, but several years later, it'll become apparent why. And as I said before, Brent, I'll share an example with that. I think you may know where I'm going with that. But how was your experience in high school? Was it similar to mine? Because I wasn't the most popular kid in the world. I had great friends, a great circle of friends that I love dearly and I care about to this day. But as far as, just comparing myself, I always did that. And I really wish I hadn't spent so much time doing so.
Yeah, I was in the same boat, and I'm pretty sure you've heard this a million times in your life, Jacob. And I had a lot of great friends, and I wouldn't say I was unpopular. I didn't view myself as popular. Also, I didn't want to be popular, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow I won most dependable from the popular from the popular crowd in high school. How, I don't know. I never hung out with them, but I guess I was cool with them, if that makes sense. We didn't have any issues. Um, excuse me. But my big thing was jealousy of what car people were driving, and
Mm-hmm.
jealousy of people in relationships.
Yeah.
It was a driving factor. I could not stand it. I would see, people at school just pull up, and I always mess with them about it a little bit. They'd pull up in their brand new truck at the time, 2010 Silverado, brand new truck with these giant mud tires on it. And my first thought was, well, they're stupid because they're not even going to use those mud tires. They're just doing it because they have a lot of money, and that's not fair. Why can I have that? I should be the one to get it. And I would say that on my head, and then I poke fun. I'm like, why'd you get those big tires? You're not even going to mud. And, I would call them. I would be kind of a jerk about it. And it was because I was jealous. I wanted all that, and I didn't have that, and I just found reasons why that was, and I would get very serious with it. Like, I would question God, and so I always look back at this thing. Wow, I was a super idiot. I'd be like, God, they go out on. I'd say this. These people that have all this stuff, and these girlfriends will go out on the weekends, and they get drunk and party, and have premarital sex and do drugs, yada yada yada. And you're giving them all this stuff, and here I am, just self-righteous, doing nothing wrong. And I had my sins, tons of them.
Yeah.
And it would always upset me. And for a long time, that, aside from the girls thing, people's vehicles, what they drove, really, really irked me. Now, I don't care at all, because I'm, at the end of the day, I just need a vehicle to drive, and it doesn't bother me how nice or how ugly it is anymore, because I stopped comparing. Oh, look what they have. Great, I have a vehicle too. I can drive. And even if I didn't, I still have other things to be grateful for. So yeah, high school was tough. Not many people knew it, if anybody, because I didn't show it. But at home in my room, I was angry and resentful and hatred. And I would compare anger, resent, and jealousy to lust. Once it starts taking a hold on you, it's very, very difficult to break. And
Yeah, for sure.
you have to be careful with that.
Yeah, and I think that's what that's what I would love to get across to younger people who are listening to this. If you don't rein in your resentment and your comparisons, because it's a cascading effect. It goes, you're going to start, if you're not grateful for what you have, if you don't take stock of what you have and what you've been given, you're going to become a person who compares yourself all the time. And if you're on social media, that's just exaggerated because social media is just a highlight reel of everybody's life. And so you're going to go from comparing yourself to resenting those who have more than you do. And then once that resentment sets in, then you're going to become angry at the things that you don't have. You're going to be angry with yourself because you're going to blame yourself in a lot of ways. Maybe it's because I'm not smart enough, or maybe it's because I'm not funny enough, or whatever the case may be. And then you're just going to become this person that's just broken down. That's just a negative person all the time. You're going to hurt those you care about most. You're going to push them away. You're not going to know. You're just not going to have a good sense of moral direction, and it's going to cascade into every area of your life. So you have to get a grip on it. And the best way to do that is to be, like I said, to have gratitude for what you don't have. Another thing you can do, and this is really hard, but try to remove your pride and be happy for people that are succeeding. And that's really hard to do. That's way easier said than done. But it's true, though. If you do it, you're going to find that you're happier in comparison to what you would be otherwise. Whenever somebody gets that promotion at work, walk up to them and shake their hand and say, congratulations. I guarantee if you start doing things like that in your own personal life, eventually you will see some change for good. And people around you will notice as well. I think that's a great way to get the ball rolling, and it's a good lesson to learn. I wish I had learned it earlier in my own life, because whenever I started doing that, I noticed my attitude and my outlook and my mental well-being changed for the better.
Yeah, I can apply that to my probably one of the hardest struggles socially was, I was always worried about if I'll ever get married or find a relationship, good or well, Jacob. And when I heard about people get married, I always got jealous. Because, I was like, what do they have that I don't have? Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
And the first time that I saw someone get married, and I was like thrilled about it, and not jealous or upset or anything. And Jacob, I'm not making this up. It was when you got married, Jacob. When you were like, yeah, I asked Ariel to marry me, and we're having that's just a pen name for Jacob's wife. When I asked her to marry me, I was like, that is awesome, Jacob. And the wedding, I was so happy. I was like, yes, that is a great marriage right there. That's a great thing that's happening. And I started to see happiness for others in relationships. And it was hard for me. It's hard my whole life with that. But once I had that first experience of actual happiness for other people, in that sense, I know there's other things I've been happy about for other people, but in that sense, things started to turn around. Now there was still a struggle for me going forward, but eventually,
for sure.
it made it's much easier. And now I see people get married. I'm like, great, that's wonderful. And now I'm getting married, so it came around. If people believe in karma.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. That's very, very kind words, and I appreciate it very much. But that's the example that I wanted to give. So we talked about it in high school. Brantley and I both kind of struggle with this. I would look at relationships that people would get into, and I would be jealous about it as well. And this was particularly whenever I was in like the 9th grade and the 10th grade. And it did make sense to me. Now, I was a short kid. I wasn't, a jock per se, anything like that, So I definitely had my physical limitations, and I felt like that played a big role. But, it just didn't make sense to me. I thought, I don't understand what they have and I don't. And, it doesn't put you in a very good mental place. But looking back now, it makes complete sense. I was a very immature person. I was very much a kid. I had no business being in a relationship with anybody, romantically speaking, at that time in my life. And there was a lot of lessons that I needed to learn first. And, we talk about the master plan, those of us who are religious, and it's only whenever we look back that we realize that we were in good hands all along. And it's no more true for me than meeting my wife and meeting her in high school, and the relationship that we ended up having and still have to this day. It's she's my best friend in the entire world, and I don't know where I would be as a man without her. And looking back at the way I was, there's no way I would have won the heart of someone like her in my ways that with the habits that I had at that time. No way. Nor would I have ever deserved someone like her, and I still don't deserve her. But it does come around, as Brantley said, and the plan was shown to me, and I'm so thankful for that, because if I had stayed in that state of comparisons and bitterness and anger, I would have never been receptive to the relationship that we ended up having. And I'm so grateful that I found the wisdom, whatever little bit that was at the time, and managed to find success in that area of life eventually, even though it wasn't on my own timing, it was on his timing. So it does come around. I mean, it really does. If you keep your head up and you stay focused on what you can control and you don't compare yourself to other people, because I really feel like, we talk about depression being this widespread, I don't want to use the word pandemic, but it's just this widespread issue throughout the
Contagion.
country. I think a lot of it has to do with us comparing ourselves, and we're on TikTok all the time, and we're on Instagram and all these other social media platforms. It's so easy to do, but it's something that we really need to strive, especially younger people, really need to strive to not do, and focus on what you can control and focus on the things you can change. And yeah, I know this is turning into a sort of a soapbox preacher session. I don't mean it to, but this is advice that I really wish I had taken to heart when I was 17, 18 years old. I think it would have helped me overcome a lot of mental depression and anxiety that was so unnecessary looking back at it.
Yeah, I mean, back in when I was in community college, I was at that depression had sunk deeply. Now I would have never admitted it back then. To me, I was like, "Nah, I'm just having a bad day." But those bad days were often,
Yeah.
and that's because of all the comparison I did. I'd look at other people like, "Oh, they're doing this, and I'm still here," and it affected me mentally because I started to believe that I could do nothing right. I would not be able to pass this math class. And yeah, I had to take remedial math in college. But when I was doing that, I thought, oh, I'm just stupid. I won't be able to do it. If I can't do it now, I won't make it. And then I see other people like, well, they got it. And it was a snowball effect. I just kept thinking, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. Thankfully, for the math part, I had two catalysts. One catalyst was a song from one of my favorite bands, August Burns Red, which was basically a song proving people wrong, proving, I guess, your own doubt wrong. And then, of course, Jacob, I've told you you're the other catalyst. Once you went off to Auburn, I was like, I'm not staying here anymore. I gotta get out. I'm going. And
yeah, but real quick,
that helped me.
I love that, and I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm so sorry, Brett, but I love that the mind, or your mind is the mountain before you. I really do think that's pretty powerful, and if people apply it to their life, more often than they do, I'm sure, then that's just great advice to live by.
It is. I mean, and that's one reason I love that band so much. They've helped me out. But yeah, the mind, excuse me, it's definitely a mind before you. And if you have that comparison culture in mind, your mountain looks too big. You can't move it. You can't move it at all. There's no way you can make it. But I'm here to tell you, you can make it. You have to stop comparing. And it's hard to do, especially when you're in a culture which is nothing but comparison. And you're already sucked into the comparison. Once you're in there, it's hard to get out. It's like pornography. Once you get trapped in there, it's a struggle, it's a fight to get out. But getting out of it is worth it. And when you let go of comparing yourself to everybody else and what they have and what you don't have, you start to find joy, tons of joy. I mean,
Yeah.
the home I live in, it's not the biggest home. It's not flashy. It's not It has one shower, one bathroom, but I love it. To me, it's great because it's somewhere I live. I have a roof, I have air, I have everything. I used to think, man, if I don't have a home, at least 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, and has a big yard, I'm not doing something right. But I let go of that comparison, and it's comparison. Excuse me. It's not always gone. There's always things we sometimes stop and like, oh, look at that. But as you get stronger in stopping the comparison, it's easier. And I don't look at other people's houses anymore and think, man, I wish I had that. That's great. If I had that, great. But I have this, and I love this because it does the same job that would do. The only difference is there's more rooms in it. And
Yeah.
unless I have 5 kids, I don't need all those rooms. It is one thing that kids out there need to understand is there's always going to be an Asian that's better than you. I know that sounds stupid, but back in school, you growing up, people always say there's always going to be an Asian kid out there that's smarter than you. And I say that because there's always going to be somebody, not necessarily Asian, it could be anybody. There's always going to be somebody out there that will be better than you at something. You could be a fantastic video gamer. There's going to be somebody better. There always is. You could be super strong. There's always someone stronger. You could be the best looking boy or girl in your class. At the school down the road, there's someone that looks better. But my point is, there's always going to be someone that seems to be better than you. So take what you do have and excel at it, and know that you're not going to be perfect at everything. You're not going to be the best at everything, but you can still take that and find joy in it. If you're the best looking person at your school, who cares about that school down the street? You have, and I'm not saying out there to go pursue beauty and nothing else. Be humble. But you're the best at your school. If you're the best basketball player in your district, that is fantastic. Stop comparing yourself to the other people in other districts until you have to play them, obviously. You have to take what you have and you have to realize, I have this, I've done this, I'm doing something correct, and not live in that defeated mindset, because that defeated mindset will only bring you down lower and lower and lower and lower, and the hole is a long way to crawl if you don't know where to start.
Yeah, and I would also piggyback off that real quick. There is a big difference between using that, especially athletes who do this, who look around and compare themselves and use it as motivation, and then there are those who use it as who don't use it in a positive way, and it ends up becoming sort of a way that they slip into depression and self-doubt and whatnot. So if you're one of the people who's mentally strong enough to look around and say, no one's going to work harder than me, no one's going to do that, then that's fine. Obviously that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about people who compare themselves in a self-destructive way. So I'm fully aware that there are a lot of athletes who look around the landscape to the best they can be, and they're trying to outdo the person that's sitting next to them. So that, obviously that's not what we're talking about.
I apologize for not clarifying that. But yes.
No. I figured people might think, well, Tim Tebow, the reason he was so good in college is because he did this. And yeah, I know. I'm aware of that. But yeah. Last thing I want to say on this real quick is, like I said, whenever I was 15, 16 years old, I kind of swore away from social media, and I haven't missed it. And Brand, I'm trying not to do the Robert Tilton, but if that's what it takes for you, then do it. Then do it. If that's what it takes for you to not be depressed, then do it.
Do it.
I couldn't help myself. I tried so hard not to do that. But yeah, seriously though, I mean, if you have to get off the platforms, I encourage you to do so. And if with that said, I think Brant, since we have a little bit of time, let's pivot over to our second topic. You have been recently looking into this mysterious situation with the teenager who jumped off the cruise ship.
Yeah.
And it was gripping in the news at the time. It was honestly kind of terrifying. I didn't look too much into it, but from what I understand, and this is just hearsay based on media narratives, and this could be out of touch. This could have been some false narrative that was, published before we had all the facts. But from what I understand, he jumped off the cruise ship because he was dared to by some of his friends or something like that. I'm not entirely sure, But it was at night, if I'm not mistaken, and he literally just disappeared into the ocean.
Yeah, so there's video. There's only one video you can find, but keep in mind in this video, there's a lot of other people recording, so I'm sure there's more out there. But yeah, the story is that on the cruise ship, graduation cruise, because he was 18, he was about to graduate from high school, or he already was about to go to college, something like that. And he was, you know, told or dared by his friends or somebody to jump off into the ocean at night. And unfortunately, that is from what I've gathered. And now, Jacob, all this, and I'll explain a little bit more about it once I get to it. Supposedly shark infested water, and there's thoughts of, excuse me, real quick. I apologize. Some say sharks got him. Some say he just drifted off in the current produced by the ship, because it's, those currents are strong, and was swept out wherever they were into the sea. And I'm not going to touch too much into it, because that's not the point of what we're about to talk about. The shark thing, there's been videos breaking it down for like 30 to 40 minutes, zooming in different filters, saying that he was attacked by sharks. They try to point out the sharks. If I'm honest, Jacob, you cannot tell. If there's one part of the video where you can see something looks like it move in water, but it could very well have been the wake of the ship. But whether it was a shark attack or whether he got swept out to sea, no one knows for sure. I'll just leave it there with that. But the thing that we're trying to get to is, why did he do it? He was dared. And dares are peer pressure. And peer pressure can make you do stupid things. And that wasn't smart. Let's be honest. It's not smart.
Yeah, our overarching message in this segment of the podcast is, don't jump off cruise ships at night in the middle of the ocean.
In the Caribbean.
That's not a good idea. You shouldn't have to be told this, but
it goes back to, you hear from people all the time, if 1,000 people jumped off a bridge, would you do it? And of course, everybody says, no, I wouldn't. But in that case, that was the bridge. The kid did it. And
you think that's going to be the new expression? I'm sorry, I don't want to make fun of this, but it is kind of humorous. If your friends dared you to jump off a cruise ship in the middle of the night, would you do it? No, that one kid did. I'm sorry. That's awful. This is funny.
I would not I wouldn't recommend watching the video, because it's kind of haunting when you watch it. Oh. Lord, forgive me, for I have sinned. Guys, the point is, if you're young and people dare you to do something and your instincts say, no, don't do it, do not care what your friends or anybody calls you if you don't do it. Because that is a perfect example of why you should go with your instincts. Because I guarantee you, his instincts were, no, this is stupid. I'm not jumping into the middle of the ocean on a moving cruise ship and possibly sharks out there. But he did. And I know Jacob been making jokes about it, and I'm laughing too.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
It's fine. I know it's obvious you don't do it. But peer pressure is a serious thing. I mean,
no, it is.
Peer pressure has gotten people into drugs. Peer pressure has gotten people to do things they're not proud of. Peer pressure it can be detrimental. Now, peer pressure usually is always nothing but detrimental, or else it wouldn't be peer pressure. So, young people out there and old people, older people, you should know this. People our age, Jacob and up, should know this. But young people, if someone is daring you to do something, why are they daring you? It's usually something that you wouldn't do period. But for whatever reason, that word dare makes you think, oh, maybe I should do it. Maybe I can prove them wrong. Don't try to prove them wrong. There's no need to prove them wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that there are, like my brothers and I did this all the time growing up, trying to push the boundaries of what we can get away with and daring us to do stupid things that we knew were stupid, but just to see if we would do it. But there's a difference in what we were doing as kids and then jumping off a cruise ship at night. Like it's a big difference. So don't do that. Don't do the latter because that's not
Well,
smart.
yeah, but also you get peer pressured into doing drugs.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like if anything's like to the detriment of your health or to the detriment of someone else, obviously don't do it. I mean, it's part of the reason that I'm not taking it as seriously as I perhaps I should be is because it's just so obvious. It's just like you don't do it. It's like if somebody approached you on a cruise ship and said, "Hey, man, I don't think you'll jump off," you'd be like, "Yeah, you're absolutely right."
I dare you do it. No.
Oh, well, now it changes things.
Oh, you dared me? All right. Well, that dare puts me up to the test.
I knew you weren't cool. Oh, yeah.
Well, let me show you. I
really hope that that's not true. That's probably not true. That can't be true.
What, that he was dared?
Yeah, like that. I mean, that just like that can't be the reason why.
That's the story. I mean, the only other thing is YouTube comments, people saying, what if he was pushed in? I feel like kids are hiding stuff. You know how conspiracy theories start in comments and videos. But, I mean, I don't know. I just don't get it. Why would you do that? Why?
No idea.
It makes... you and I say this because we're afraid of the deep. So to us, it makes total sense. But even still, I don't get it.
Yeah, but honestly, and I want to stick with this story for just a few moments. If you're jumping into the ocean at that hour, sharks are honestly like the last thing that should be on your mind. Drowning, the current, especially at night, if it was any sort of weather or turmoil in the ocean, that would be what I would be concerned about more than sharks. I mean, yeah, sharks would be on the mind, obviously. But,
well, for me, it would be what I don't see down there, the current and whatnot. And I'll just be honest, that wouldn't be the first thing I think of. For me, I wouldn't necessarily say it's sharks. I would say it's abundance of things. What's down there? What is beneath me? And
I think you're just, but in that situation though, Brent, I think you're much more likely to drown than anything else.
Yeah.
Like without question, that would be the highest probability at that point in time.
I would be in total shock in the middle of the ocean at nighttime because of how afraid we've said it before on the podcast, especially for me. My fear of the deep and dark, not like outside dark, but like a dark body of water is real. Like sometimes I get chills thinking about it. So if I was out there for whatever reason, I'm not jumping off a ship, by the way. If that happened to me, I would be frozen in shock. So
what if I dared you?
Jacob, you can dare me 1,000 times, and I would say no.
No, you and I are the same, though. If I found myself in that situation, I would probably just have a panic attack.
Yeah, I would. I wouldn't know what to do, and I don't understand. I don't, and I still don't know if it was. There's no confirmed story. When I say there's breakdown videos, there's like some guy has 6 videos breaking down, zooming in. It's pretty gruesome what he says. I don't know how accurate it is because he'll zoom in on like something you can't tell what it is and be like, as you see there's his body. It looks like it's severed there at the head. It looks like 2 eyeballs, and when you look at it, it looks like nothing but like a white speck. Like I don't know.
I don't think so. That doesn't even sound like shark behavior to me from what I've seen.
Well, what people have said though in that area is that these ships, these cruise ships that go on a certain route, sharks will follow them because they know they're going to throw like food scraps into the ocean, which they do that.
Yeah.
So there are like sharks following the ship. Now, whether or not there was a shark, who knows? Or sharks, plural, who knows? You can't tell. You do hear, you can hear him or somebody scream help in the video. But again, he could just be screaming help because he's, floating away. I don't know. Or it could just be somebody on the ship screaming help. We don't know.
Well, it may be too late now since I've laughed thoroughly at this, but obviously it's a tragic story, and our condolences to the family who went through this. But I mean, it just seems so absurd to me. It truly does.
Yeah. I mean, absurd things happen.
I mean, isn't this sort of how like Johnny Knoxville got his start by, on MTV with people daring him to do stupid things, and then he found a few other people that would do those same stupid things, and now they're playing tetherball with the Beehive in their latest movie. Like, isn't that just how these things go? Like you have to top the dare, and then the next thing you know, you're jumping off cruise ships.
I realize that those guys are an advocate for doing dares, but don't look at them. I also realize they have medical crews on the ready to help them out.
I mean, Brandon, you don't think it's a good idea to play, to intimidate a bull or to get shot out of a cannon or play tetherball with the Beehive?
Or sit in a Porter John and get one of those
get launched into the
so gross.
Oh my God.
There was also, you jogged my memory. There's one where Steve was like, "Hi, I'm Steve-O, and I'm about to dive into the sewer of Pip." And he dives in, he's like snorkeling into the sewer. I'm like, oh.
Oh my.
There's another one. In like Mr. Rogers, how they have the the little town with the nice music and whatnot.
Yeah.
This is in, I believe, the third movie of them. They have like this music playing like doo, 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 doo. There's like a little train going. There's people on like this Green Mountain, and then it starts rumbling. It's like this guy is laying upside down with his butt pointing at the volcano of the area. He just starts crapping. It's so stupid.
I mean, I feel like we're only one step away from that and jumping off a cruise ship. Like, I don't feel like there's much of a gap there.
Well, here's the thing, though. If they were to jump off a cruise ship, there will be people nearby to pick them up on the ready.
Yeah, for sure.
They're I hate to call them professionals, but they're professionals.
They're professional idiots.
Yeah, yes. Jumping off a cruise ship just because you're dared or pressured to, come on. It's like you said, Jacob, it's so obvious you don't do that.
And I feel so bad, Brent. We're probably going to get labeled as terrible people for laughing at this so much, and I'm so sorry. I truly am. I don't mean to sound unsensitive, or, I don't mean to sound so insensitive to their loss, because it truly is a tragedy. But
yeah.
But man, I mean, it's just so. I don't get it.
What's a dare, Jacob, that you've been dared that you did?
Nothing. Honestly, I mean, I was super cautious as a child. I mean, I didn't do very much that was dangerous. Oh man, I'm trying to think. Probably just. Well, let me think about it for a second. Do you have something you want to share?
Yeah, it's not that great. Ding dong ditching on a golf
I mean,
cart.
I was about to say something stupid like that, or like rolling someone's car. We did go to one of my this is so stupid, but we did go to one of my teachers' houses in high school that we were close to. He was awesome. He was one of my favorite teachers I've ever had. But we thought it was a good idea. So two of our mutual friends were sitting in my kitchen. We were eating some pizza, and we didn't finish it. And we knew where he lived. He lived right behind the corner there, past some of our other friends' house. And we thought we would take him the rest of our pizza. no idea why we thought this. This is such a stupid idea, but we did. So we packaged it up and we walked it over to his house. We knocked on his door, and all because really one of our friends said that I wouldn't do it. So I knocked on his door, and he comes driving up as I'm standing at his door with this pizza. He's like, "What the heck are you doing?" He calls me over to his car, and it's like, "Why are you here? How did you know where I live?" And he started grilling me about this. I'm like, "Well, I was bringing you pizza." He did not think it was cute. So the next week at school, he walks in the classroom. We had him for homeroom. And he's like, "Jacob and his friends think they are so funny. They thought they would bring me all this other stuff." And he gave me the most detention. He gave me a week's of detention for it. He's like, "I'm going to make an example out of you." He gave me a week's detention. And it was kind of like this funny thing. He gave them 3 days. But well, I won't say his name, but he was always trying to find out ways to get me detention, and they would laugh at me. So, I mean, it was sort of like this, like, honestly, it sounds like he was picking on me, but he kind of was, but it was kind of like just our relationship, like the way it was. Like, I knew he didn't have any animosity towards me or anything, because honestly, his detentions was awesome, and we got to talk a lot, and it was really cool. So
your dare was to deliver him pizza.
Basically, yeah. Because I knew where he lived, and people were like, "You won't do it. You won't go to his house." And because they stayed in the road and I went up to his house, I got the most attention. But yeah, I did. I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it. I don't care."
One time I was playing Truth or Dare with my little sister. But we were doing it in a way. I was like, "All right, if I say the number you say, then..." Our next door neighbor, Jacob.
Yeah,
Between you and us. I said, if I guess the number that you say at the same time, then you had to go up to their house, knock on the door, and say, "Hi, can I take a dump?" I read it on the
Oh my God.
And of course, she says the number, and I say the exact same number. And she's like, "No, I can't do it." I was like, "You lost the dare." She didn't do it because she told my dad. But man, I was so excited. I said, "This is going to be great." That's unfortunate.
I'm surprised you didn't mention Halo 3.
All right, I'll mention that dumb game. So, hold on. Let me think about it real quick.
I mean, I got a nice card out of it.
Back in, what year was it? Was it 2005?
It would have been like 2005, 2006. It was probably 2006.
Yeah. No. Well, when was Halo 3 announced?
Halo 2 came out in 2004. I mean, it didn't even need to be announced, but it was probably late 2005, summer of 2006.
Because it were launched in 7, right?
It launched September 07.
Okay. So, yeah, the announcement would have been late 5, early 6, something like that.
Yeah.
All right, so guys, back in the day, Jacob and I were Halo fans. Our friends were Halo fans. 1 and 2 just took the world by storm. And Jacob and I had a bet. And the bet was stupid when I look back on it. Excuse me. I said, "Jacob, there's not going to be a third Halo game." And anybody that's played Halo knows at the end of Halo 2, he says, "I'm going to finish the fight," which is a pretty good indication that there's going to be a third game.
Brantley just thought that meant that it's going to be left to our imagination.
I digress. So I bet Jacob that there wouldn't be. He bet me that there would. And whoever got the most votes from people on if there would or would not be would win the bet. Jacob had pretty much everybody of our group circle on his side on that because it was, again, obvious. In fact, he had them so much so that I even made up a random one. I said, "Well, I got the so-and-so who said it wouldn't be." It didn't matter. I was outnumbered. And I lost that bet. Big time strong. And Jacob got to pick a card from me. And yeah, he still has it to this day.
Yes, I do. Now, in fairness, I have tried to return the card on numerous occasions.
I lost the bet, Jacob.
And Brantley won't hear of it, so.
That's another good thing of betting. I'll touch on that real quick. It's kind of off of peer pressure, but I lost that bet with Jacob. Stupid. But in 7th grade, we had, I forgot what the class was called, but we made like these little wooden cars. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, Jacob. They're like these little wooden cars you would build.
Yeah,
and put tires.
Put weights and stuff in it.
Yeah, and you would
Yeah.
like race them.
Yeah, my
So-
dad, just real quick, my dad, Josh, I think I've mentioned his name before. My older brother, my dad, and I, we built 2 one year for our church group, and we actually went all the way to state. My brother actually placed in state.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's an actual thing. It's fun.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
We did that at school. We had a school competition, and of course, I didn't make it. And I lost pretty quick. But I'm in the bleachers watching, and I'm surrounded by like 5 guys, and we're all placing bets on who's going to win. And that day, Jacob, I learned my lesson. I lost all my snack money, my snacks, and I believe a few pencils. I learned that betting is not a good thing to do.
No.
I was drained. I was like, are you kidding me?
No, it's certainly not. And now I have to say my experience in the limited amount of times I've gambled on something have paid off for me, but I've approached it very cautiously over my lifetime. So
Yeah.
I would not recommend it.
No. I definitely wouldn't. I never win at all, I bet.
Yeah, don't bet that there's not a sequel to a game where he says finish the fight. That's not good.
At that time, my ego had taken the better of.
Oh man, that isn't that something, Brent? While everybody was celebrating Halo 3's announcement, Brantley was crying in the corner. Like, no.
I mean, everybody should have been crying. It was a terrible game.
Okay, all right. With that said,
Awful story.
I think that's part of the reason why you're so bitter about the game. I just made the connection. That's it.
The story's awful.
I don't know about that.
I played that story like 5 times, and it was terrible every time.
I guess that's your John Wick.
John Wick is a fantastic series, and you just need to open your eyes and stop believing everything
I mean, that's what
being
that's
whispered
what
into your ears. Jacob, if you listen closely, you can hear it. You can hear it.
Rise up.
Rise up with John Wick.
All right, man. Well, we're getting a little off topic here, and we're almost out of time anyway. So I guess we need to wrap it up. Brand, do you have anything you want to say before we conclude the episode today?
Not much other than thanks to everybody with all the support for the previous episodes and episodes before that, and the YouTube channel and our platforms. Again, catch us there. Links will be in the description of the podcast, and don't go jumping off cruise ships. That's all for me, Jacob.
Also, go check out Brantley's YouTube channel as well. It's being linked up.
And Jacob's.
Well, yeah, I appreciate that, but we're producing content on a weekly basis, and we'd love to see you over there if you're interested in chess, gaming, or you like TCGs and pack openings. We got you covered on all fronts, so just check us out if you have time.
By the time this episode airs, I will have already released a Big Time Strong opening. So it comes out on the Friday before this episode airs, so it's already out by the time you hear this.
And also, I would like to echo our gratitude as well. Thank you so much for listening to this episode and the previous ones. Again, I really want to emphasize our condolences to the family who lost their child. We don't mean to make fun of it. We truly don't. We didn't seem to. We don't want to be insensitive, but forgive us for that. We do apologize. And again, we want to say our sincere thanks to all of you who listened. Our platforms, as Brantley alluded to, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all of that will be in the description below, as well as our social media and links to our individual YouTube channels. You can find all that information in the description of each of our episodes, and we encourage you to check that out. If you have any suggestions for future episodes, you can always send us that email at humilitypodcast@gmail.com or leave us a comment in the comment section below on YouTube. And other than that, we just want to say thanks. God bless you all, and we will see you next week. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the In Our Humble Opinion podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. If you have any comments on today's episode, or if you'd like to suggest topics for future episodes, connect with your hosts at humilitypodcast@gmail.com. We'll see you next time.